Jai Hind and welcome to Dev Talks. As promised, we are back to discuss about the return of our very close friend, mine and General Shankar's, of Xi Jinping as the head, the leader, the president, the chairman, the general secretary, the big boss, the man on the floor of China. I didn't find any more adjectives, sir. Thank you so much for joining me.
That's very interesting. First and foremost, Adi, I must say, uh, very good evening, good morning, wherever all of viewers are. Okay, and I hope enough people are watching this event. I mean, on this discussion of ours, which is going to be a little hutke. We're going to discuss the man, right? If I put all what you said about Xi Jinping in one word, it is the ideological man. He's the ideological man of the moment, and it's important that we discuss him because he's going to drive China for the next 4 5 years and maybe beyond, and he's going to shape China, its behavior, uh, in times to come. Understanding what he has done and understanding what he is likely to do ahead is, I think, half the battle of dealing with China, right? And I might just like to add, he is not returning from anywhere. He's gone nowhere to return. Okay, he's just stepping out into the future, and he's going to be quite a handful to all of us. Okay, so yeah, let's start wherever you want.
Thank you, sir. Guys, before I begin, please hit the like button, subscribe, check out my website www.thedevtalks.com. This space is going to be important for you to understand what Xi Jinping is all about. So please do focus on that. Of course, General Shankar has got a inside view of the CPC, probably a hidden camera somewhere, which is telling him that Xi Jinping is back already. He's not returned, he's back, he's elected. So the election results are out. But anyways, let's talk about the man himself. Sir, he came in after a period of openness, of I mean relative openness, if I may, of Deng Xiaoping, who kind of you know removed the centrality of power, who kind of eased up the system a little bit, who tried to bring in certain amount of reform. Of course, he also had the Tiananmen Square on his hands, but anyways, the central party commission was decentralized to a certain extent, where there was a joint kind of a decision. And then came, after some time, after one or two leaders, and comes in Xi Jinping, who's kind of upturning the apple cart. How do you see the transformation from the Deng era of trying to open up to a Xi Jinping who says enough, close it down?
There are two aspects to this. One is the persona of Xi Jinping, and second, the way China was, heading. Xi Jinping is absolutely a dyed-in-the-wool communist of the Mao type and the Marx type. For him, the party is above all. The individual has to subordinate himself to the party and the overall discipline. And the supreme leader is the greatest. And people have to follow the party. Though it is supposed to be for the people, but that's how the party system is. And he has always believed in, state control, authority, XYZ. Now, the thing with Xi Jinping is, uh, I'm talking about the personality. He did not exhibit any personality till he became the president.
Hmm.
He was actually, as per comments before that, he was a staid, unimaginative kind of a guy who didn't have any great ideas. If there's one person, who followed Deng's advice, hide your strength and bide your time, it was Xi Jinping.
Personally.
Yeah, personally. Okay. Deng Xiaoping was talking of China. This chap did it for himself. Right. And he was very clear that the party was drifting away from the ideals of Mao. And he felt very uncomfortable with this business of opening up reforms and all that. Now, you have to understand why he did it. He felt that there was wide inequity in society between the rich and the poor, which was opening up because of reforms, right? And reforms had diluted the original party ideals by which they stood. Let me put it in context here. He's been very smart, actually, Xi Jinping. Mao was an out and out communist, and there's no doubt about it. He was only interested in uh, himself, the state, and the party. The rest were all cannon fodder. Deng Xiaoping was a communist. Let's not have any doubts about it. He was
Hmm.
not a father figure. He was an absolute communist. His one party, one child policy, he instituted it. Tiananmen Square, he instituted it. He also believed in the strength of the party. And that is why he could come up. He became a strong man. Okay. But he also believed in a market economy. He knew that unless China was rich, it could do nothing. So, to that extent, Xi has used this principle of the supremacy of the party, which he has, he's been quoting Deng Xiaoping and Mao to make the
Hmm.
party supreme. And he's been quoting the wide inequities and the ills of the private sector to revert back to state control. He's made best of both worlds to take to take China onto off the route of reform as we understood it and started closing it. Okay, he has his ideas, he's got his views. I mean,
Hmm. Hmm.
and he's been very shrewd in manipulating all this.
True.
And
That is true.
in his initial time as a president, he identified himself with the masses and said, "Whatever I'm doing is for the masses." And he popularized himself with the masses. And having done that, he's taken a hard left, uh, to where he is now. So this transition has been very crafty, okay, between Deng Xiaoping, Jiang Zemin, Hu Jintao, and he's been very smart about it further. He has not denigrated Jiang Zemin and Hu Jintao, right? They're still part of the elders, party elders, even today. In fact, today only I saw a photo somewhere where I think South China Morning Post only, where he stands between the two. It's a recent photo.
Interesting.
So he has actually manipulated everyone into a corner with his ideas. So if you think it is just strongmanship, no, he's manipulated. He's been a manipulator. So if you think of Xi Jinping, you must think there's some severe manipulation going on. And it's not mindless manipulation, it is manipulation with a particular aim. Right? So if you look at it further, the way things are being manipulated even today, and you look at it ahead, it's absolute. You're going to see this business of manipulation going ahead. And so when we deal with them, we should know that you're being manipulated. Right?
It is.
And yeah.
You've put it across in terms of manipulation, sir, and
Hmm.
that to me is interesting because I mean, this is just my opinion. I may be horribly wrong in this, but the entire premise of the Communist Party has been manipulation.
Yeah, but see, while I agree with what you're saying, that if the premise of the Communist Party is manipulation through agendas, agenda-driven manipulation,
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
right? Those agendas are come out as manifestos and all. Here, he has manipulated the whole system to suit his persona.
Aha.
And there's again a two-tone thing. One, he has shown that he's doing everything for the nation, for the people in the party, but he's actually doing it for himself. The fact that he has already written his history to be the most consequential and the core leader of China,
Yeah, core
he's come with
leader.
a purpose. His manipulation is not benign; it is actually malignant, right? So you have to view this man in that manner. Look, the average person will think, oh, he's becoming a dictator, he's this, that, and all. But what people don't realize is he's an absolute ace manipulator. And without this manipulation, he couldn't have consolidated his hold over the party. Without this manipulation, he couldn't have started this anti-corruption drive, through which he's actually virtually eliminated his opposition. Unlike Mao's purges, the cultural revolution, Mao did it with a talwar ke saath, just cut off it through his red guards and all. This man has used the principle of red guards of those time and the red volunteers of that time who conducted the cultural revolution to exterminate Mao's complete opposition. He has used this anti-corruption campaign
4.4 million people, sir.
of 4 million people. If I look at it, the anti-corruption movement of Xi Jinping is a modern day version of the cultural revolution.
Okay.
After after Mao died and the Gang of Four were eliminated, Deng Xiaoping slowly pushed away all the hardliners, okay, which had to be done, and he opened up the economy. From Deng Xiaoping to Jiang Zemin and to Hu Jintao, there was no, and purges are endemic to any communist system in China. But the scale at which he's done and the methodical way he has done is phenomenal. Like you said, 4 million in over a 10-year period is not a joke.
Guys,
It's a hell of a lot. And if you see recently also, he is very clearly, finished all opposition off. Right? So the consolidation of power has been complete. Another way he's consolidated power is through the Central Military Commission. He amended the constitution of the Central Military Commission so that their powers were reduced, their businesses were closed, their avenues of being independent were finished. And that happened in the first term itself. And then he ensured that the complete Central Military Commission was beholden to him because he appointed new generals who were young, and the seniority
from his
difference between him
generation.
and everyone were different. And he himself became the head of Central Military Commission, and he controlled the gun. And it is the PLA which brought Mao to where he was. See, Mao used the PLA and the central part and the party alternatively to keep up his power. He's done the same thing. He's actually consolidated everything. His being president of the country is, bygone thing. The two main things are the general secretary of the party and the CMC. Both he's manipulated to control over the past 5-10 years. Today's thing is absolute totality. He's totalitarian in his power. Okay, so it's frightening. In history, if you see anyone who with such totalitarian powers have been destructive to the society at large. But then let's see where it goes.
The problem that I see of in this entire game, sir, is of course a lot more to do with foreign relations and stuff like that. But I want to talk about something which is interesting within China, is that Xi Jinping has been able to, as you said, maneuver himself through the certain traditions, the certain subtle traditions that were there. Xi Jinping himself was a vice premier for some time. These are traditions that the Chinese Communist Party have come in. Now, the question stays that a lot of China watchers are today asking is that will he name somebody who would be like his tagline? That is one, and and this comes into that consolidation question and the question of Li Keqiang, who's currently the prime minister premier of China.
Look, Li Keqiang, I think, is on his way out. I don't see, if you see any article anywhere in the world, Li Keqiang is on his way out, and I don't think Xi Jinping will let go. Okay, right? I don't think I think he's now into too powerful a position to let go. Okay, now as far as his other issues of naming a successor and all, there's no question of naming a successor at this point of time. If he names a successor today, that fellow will become his biggest danger. Okay, when I mean, how can you just think when people say successor? How can you think of a successor when I'm just getting into the chair again and I'm preordained to take China to its greatness?
So, president for life is that.
President for life is what he's going to do. I mean, let's not have doubts about it.
Yeah.
Let unless some ill health comes or something like that, he is there to stay, and we have to contend with him, good, bad, or ugly. You know you're going to get manipulated. You know he's got single point agenda. So yeah,
Let's go over to something that relatively changed within China in the past couple of years, which was noticeable. And this is before the pandemic, before the economic downturn that took place. It was the wolf warriorism, the aggressive foreign policy that Xi Jinping went on to. He probably spent trillions of dollars with regards to his BRI, and today the BRI has come to a BRI 2.0. How do you kind of see this entire development and this whole risk that Xi Jinping took?
see, in as per Xi Jinping's view, and this is now coming out very amply, he felt that China was uh, preordained to greatness. One, the Middle Kingdom mindset. He saw the West declining, China growing up, and he said, if I can remove the ills which China is likely to face, there is no way China can be stopped. And then this construct of this revenge on this century of humiliation.
Hmm.
The humiliation is over. We have to rise, and when we rise, we will set the tone for the whole world. And he also felt that uh, a just and fair world can be only guaranteed with a strong China, and that the West was greedy and it was doing everything to its own principles, and it was depriving a lot of people of everything. It is also guided by the fact that there are a lot of poor countries where socialism exists, which constantly look towards China for guidance, especially the Communist Party is there,
Even
right?
in India, yeah.
I mean,
Hmm.
that's there even in India. Some of our communists also still talk today for
Oh yeah,
China,
yeah,
not
they call him the boss. They call him the
was.
boss.
So he's used this construct, or he's used this mentality to convince himself and the world that China's time has come, and nothing can beat that, and you can't stop that. You can't stop an idea whose time has come, and his foreign policy has been guided by that. The BRI was a vehicle to get geopolitical importance. If there is economic interdependence between countries, geopolitics follow. And at that point of time, you have to understand that China had the bandwidth, financial bandwidth to handle
Yeah.
BRI.
Hmm.
Okay,
Hmm.
when the West was struggling and USA was struggling, and USA was struggling with the Trump days and the weak Obama days. See, second term of Obama was not great; it was quite weak,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then the chaos of Trump. So he saw an opportunity here, and Europe was divided and also weak. And his thing of weakness was not financial, it was beyond financial. It was weak societies, weak people, weak leaders. And he deemed himself a strong leader. He still deems himself as a strong leader. It's not in the past tense, it's in the present.
Hmm.
So the business of being assertive, aggressive, all this got highlighted during the pandemic. In the pandemic, he was convinced, and that's what he told everyone, that our form of governance and the communist form of governance is better than the democratic form of governance, which is weak. That is why people are dying there. People are this thing, and here everyone is safe. And when he declared victory over the COVID, okay, now again, it bears a resemblance to what Mao did. In the Great Leap Forward, when millions were dying, people were without medicine, people were without food. Mao even refused to acknowledge there was a famine when 40 million people died. This is history. Okay, the Great Famine, as they call it. Today, he is refusing to acknowledge that COVID is rampant in his country. That is, vaccines have failed. That is, victory over COVID was premature,
Fake.
fake. Okay, and the only answer he has is lockdown and mass testing. He refuses to acknowledge that is to import vaccines to save his people. You see this strange similarity between Mao's cultural revolution and his zero COVID. Okay, uh, and the strange, I wouldn't say zero COVID, between Mao's cultural revolution and his anti-corruption. There's a similarity between the Great Leap Forward and the zero COVID. There's a similarity. See, Mao had two eras. One is the Great Leap Forward and the Cultural Revolution.
Cultural.
In the Great Leap Forward, he wanted to industrialize China
Steel
and
industry.
make it a great power. Okay, he did communes and this and that, all that nonsense, which failed. That's a great leap forward. That and zero COVID are the same. In the Cultural Revolution, he wanted to revitalize the Communist Party and he exterminated all opposition. He exterminated all those people who were considered bourgeois, elite, thinkers, teachers, all were wiped out. Same as this man's anti-corruption
He's
campaign.
doing right now, anti-corruption drive.
So there's no difference. Okay. And he's now constructed something very funny called the century of humiliation. He talks of the century of humiliation when the 100 years till the Communist Party was born.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, as a time when colonial powers ruled China and brought about all misery to China.
Opium wars and this and that. Yeah.
Opium war, yeah. Uh, I'm going to publish an article shortly, maybe today, tomorrow it will come out. But what has the Communist Party itself done for the last century, 1921 to now? It is its own. The century of humiliation of the Communist Party over the Chinese people is not recorded. It started with the Cultural Revolution. It started with the Great Leap Forward, then followed up with the Cultural Revolution, then the one-child policy, which has consigned China to decline, and now the zero COVID and anti-corruption. And that he's taken up cudgels with the world. So this dichotomy is actually being personified by Xi Jinping. Yeah, let's move on to any other factor you want.
No, that's an interesting subject, sir. Why? Because it just tells you something about the thought process of a particular country. Now, here is a basic fundamental question I always wonder about China, and it's a dichotomy that the Chinese Communist Party refuses to address. I mean, I had the displeasure of actually interacting with one of these blokes online. It's a dichotomy that they just refuse to address, because my question to him and my question to you as well is one thing very simple. If China is doing that great, why do you need so much censorship? Why do you need so much controls over your people? Why do you need not people not to speak? If the people are so happy and you've elevated 800 million people of poverty, they've got money, they've got this, that, let them be. And that there's no answer. So why the higher bit of controls with regards to its population? The money guys and politicians I can understand. Why the population, sir?
Power. Power. Very simple. Unopposed power. Unaccounted power. When you're getting power for free through censorship, why should you go through the problem of democracy and openness? Why should you let the other guy be given a chance to take power? Uh, Let's be very clear. At the
Yeah,
end of the day, these chaps are ambitious guys who want power and nothing else. It has got nothing to do with the Chinese people. Mao didn't care when the people died. This man is also not caring when the people are suffering due to zero COVID. Deng Xiaoping didn't care whether when he started this one child policy of
yeah.
what will happen tomorrow.
Hmm.
Same thing with this fellow also. Whether it's anti-corruption, zero COVID, whatever, Wolforism, he's not bothered. He's not bothered. He didn't. He let the virus get away from Wuhan when he locked down China. He's not. Let's be very clear. It's all power, nothing else but power. That he is the best. It's some kind of a megalomania. I have no doubt about it. I mean that also comes through the personality. That look, like I told you, till he became the prime minister, the president of um, China and the general secretary of the Chinese Communist Party, his persona was absolutely non-existent. He was considered a dull guy who thought everyone thought could be manipulated. Very little realizing that he is the ace manipulator. He is the one who has hidden his strength and bided his time. Yeah, let's get to the
Absolutely.
next
That, I
section.
mean, honestly, I didn't ever think about that particular aspect. It's quite an eye opener. Let's talk about these little protests that sprung up, sir. It was interesting. I have the name of that guy. It's kind of slipping my memory right now. I mean, God help him. What's going to happen to him? Yeah, his name is Piang Peng Zaizu,
Yeah, poor
the
chap,
guy who held that.
he'll be terminated. Let's be very clear. That poor chap, he did whatever he did, and he's going to be get exterminated. On
Fair
that,
enough,
there's
sir.
no doubt. Right.
The aspect that I want to ask you about is this particular protest. It's not a single guy. Somebody printed his banner. A lone guy can't print up 90 feet of a
Yeah, yeah.
banner.
There is a. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, finish your question, then we'll talk.
So somebody printed the banner. Somebody did the smoke something. Somebody recorded his voice and did that entire voiceover. Somebody was strategically positioned to do the shoot and upload it on the World Wide Web. There was a particular strategic move that was made with regards to this entire thing. This is my question. So, if there is such an element within China, how does Xi Jinping look at it right now with such a blatant dictatorship sort of a comment being given to him?
Let's be very clear. Uh, you remember we spoke about Samarkand, color revolution, all that. This protest movement and dissonance within China has always existed. It is not for fun that he spoke of color revolutions in Samarkand. It is not this thing that there's some truth in that, coup story. It could have been scotched by Xi Jinping, and I think so. He's done that. It is not for fun that people wrote in his security minister wrote about the danger of color revolution and
Mhm,
loyalty to Xi
mhm.
Jinping and all that. It is not for fun that those flights were cancelled. For all you know, all this is part of a thing to trap these fellows, and he's trapped them. What is now coming out? Look, there is widespread resistance to him. I won't say widespread, there is some resistance to him. That is a given. Mind you, and this is not new. I mean, this is the best part. I read an article where when this chap had gone to USA, when he was the vice president or vice premier at that time, when he during a dinner, all he could talk was about color revolutions.
Hmm.
This is 15 years back.
Ah, that fear, huh?
That fear, you have a fear of color revolution. That means China at that time, during the peak of its openness, was susceptible to color revolution. So today, what will it be? It will be a hell of a lot more. We don't see it because of the firewall of information. So if you think that there's no this thing, then we are mistaken. But if you think this chap is out of control, no, he's fully in control. Okay, and this is the China we'll see going ahead. always at risk. There is no doubt in my mind that there are moments within China who don't ascribe. Even it had come out in Asia Nikki, I think, where this chap Songping, who's a 105-year-old party elder, he has said that you should open up and reform.
Ah, yes, yes, yes. I read that. Yes, correct.
So all
Hmm.
if you put all these things together, there is opposition to him. The opposition is going nowhere. The point is, will that opposition tip him over? At this point, it doesn't seem so. Was he vulnerable? I think he was vulnerable around the time there was locked of talk of coup.
Cool.
I mean, there was no doubt. If you remove, we did this. That look, he's saying something, and is the coup real? That's the thing, right? We concluded there is something on. Whether it is a coup or not, we didn't know. But now he's got over it and is in absolute control today. But will it guarantee absolute safety for him tomorrow is a different story. Okay, there's a problem. And communists, what takes a revolution to be sparked? One tender somewhere.
Oh yeah, your nine missed meals from a revolution. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's just it's just it's a
So
click.
we don't know,
Absolutely. Mm.
right? So
But so
I
you know
think
you
that's
sorry,
how
please.
I look at the opposition and the protests and all that. These are indications, symptoms that there is something in China. When will it engulf China? We don't know. Till then, they'll continue.
You've put across a very interesting comparisons, if I may. You know, Mao in 1960s, I think, if I'm not mistaken, had asked certain intellectuals to kind of write to the government criticizing its policies.
And then he
That was
rounded them up.
basically done to wrap them up
Yeah,
completely.
yeah, they did this. See, this is a favorite tactic of the Communist Party. They did it in, before the Olympics, 2008 Olympics. There were a lot of protests and all. They said, okay, you go and protest at one particular place. When they went to protest at that place, they rounded them up and took them off. Part of opening up. So, same thing here. You see, there's also a story which is there in, I think, one of the articles in New York Times only. When he took over, as the president and as the general secretary of the party, a lot of people said, there should be reform and opening up and all. And there was a group which held a convention in a hotel and had a talk about reform, yeah, wo, and all that. All those fellows are today missing.
Wow.
All are missing. One by one, over a period of time, he's eliminated them. Uh, this is an article. In fact, I read it yesterday or day before, including a chap called Sun Dawu, who was an industrialist who was yeah, incarcerated. Uh, so
Scary.
this is something. This thing about handling opposition, the way he's handled opposition, his anti-corruption part move, everything is absolutely aligned with the thought process, and that thought process is absolutely derivative of Mao. Let's not have any doubt about that. And he wants to become the most consequential leader of China. So
Mao
that's
2.0.
yeah, Mao 2.0. No, Mao 2.0 is Jinping 1.0. He's, he will at one point of time he'll finish Mao off also.
That's the classic, the next guy
Yeah.
takes off the previous one. So now Xi Jinping is coming to power, and this is my last question, gentlemen and ladies who are joining us today. Before that, I wanted to put this one comment out. It's really funny. I just want to put this out to lighten up the mood. What hits the fan? It's Xi. So thanks so much,
Right.
whoever you are. It's a cryptic name, so I don't know who this person is. But anyways, before we this thing, I've got quite a bit of comments and questions. Please do keep firing up. We'll go around about 50 minutes or about an hour for the show. Uh, Please do hit the like button. It helps us reaching a higher audience. Of course, our China shows do really well. I think a lot of people are interested in finding out what's happening within China. We'll try and do them more often. Check the subscription, visit my website, and of course, yes, if you can, do contribute to the Dev Talks efforts by sending in a super chat, a super sticker, or a direct contribution into the UPI, or you can just become a member of Dev Talks by Adi. So, last question: emerging challenges for Xi Jinping. He's kind of closed his road. A couple of things which are internal and external. One, he's tried to become the Robin Hood of China. Two, he's trying to basically pick a fight with every uh, TDH, Tom, Dick, and Harry around the place. Uh, One of the biggest challenges to him, which wouldn't have been there, would have been India. Pakistan seems to be losing its grip. The Americans have mentioned as a big threat, and the Americans have very clearly said the Chinese have territorial ambition, the Russians don't in their national security policy. So there's a change of mood towards China as well. So these are huge challenges that he'll have. He won't have a smooth run the way he used to. He
No,
won't be
he'll not.
driving the BMWs in London and drinking beers with, I forget the Prime Minister's name.
Yeah, I agree with you. You have to understand this in two, three concepts which is actually enunciated. One is common prosperity, second is dual circulation, okay, and then his own historic mission to greatness. And what is common prosperity all about? It's just not robbing from the rich and paying the poor. No, it is transfer of wealth from the richer parts of the society to the poorer parts of the society. How is he doing it? It's very interesting. He is doing it by emasculating the private enterprises and uh, giving headway to the public enterprises. So that public enterprises are today growing rich, and the public enterprises, since they have grown rich, and the money is of the state, he intends to transfer it to the poor. By transferring it to the poor, he is placing money in the hands of the poor, so that consumerism starts. Now, when consumerism goes ahead, okay, the dual circulation kicks in. One part of
Internal
dual
consumption.
circulation is consumerism, the
Internal
other
consumption,
part
yes,
is
fair enough.
export.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, the state corporations become critical in the export and getting money, and that money goes down to consumers who will instigate consumerism and drive this dual circulation up. In the process, in this process, he wants to create a self-contained, isolated society which cannot be shaken from outside shocks or by through outside shocks. He is striving for a self-sufficient, isolated, and that's what the model he has probably achieved to some extent during the isolation period or the pandemic period, where he felt that the manufacturing of China was sustaining the world. His view is that the world can't do without China, whereas China can do without the world, right? And that the superiority of the Chinese society and the governance model of China will succeed over the declining West and the democracy without principles. This is his mental construct. Okay, so if you see it in this context, I think all what you have said falls in place. Naturally, what are the emerging challenges? The challenges is internal challenges is the protest is there. The economy is tanking. How will he reverse this with all this big talk is a $1 million question, right?
That is, yeah, that is the main point. So, what will he
Point.
do? I mean, it's not
What will he
something that he
do?
can.
It's no, he
Hmm.
can't. The the population is declining. There's no two ways about it. People are refusing to engage with him. He's lost trust of the world. Taiwan is a sore. India is a problem for him, and India is fast catching up, and people are migrating to India. Okay, I mean, just take Apple. Apple has started its
Hmm.
iPhone export
12
from
and 13 is started
yeah
already.
from Chennai, and they're setting up another plant out there. And very
Yeah,
soon, you will see that there is more
top end
export. Even
models.
Samsung
Hmm.
has started. So this story is there. I mean, the threat to his thing externally from then, of course, the major threat. USA has Chips Act. They now stopped giving chips to
Oh, and even
Uh,
the personnel, my God, that's a
yeah,
big thing.
everything. Now they have put sanctions, going to put sanctions on personnel also. So it's a deep thing. The challenges are huge. Uh, how we'll come out of them is what is to be seen, and how not only he comes out of them, how we handle him is also important. And you have to understand one thing in all this, irrespective of other challenges, he's pumped money into the PLA.
Yeah, doubled in 10 years. Yeah,
Yeah, and PLA as a force, the manpower might be weak, but equipment-wise they're well up.
true.
Okay, in a given situation against weaker adversaries, PLA will get a walkover.
He will prevail. Yes, sir.
He will prevail. It is only against tougher adversaries that he has to think, and he's been smart enough to avoid tougher adversaries. And when the time comes, he backtracks. That's again the Chinese
Way of doing
thinking,
things.
way of doing things. When the opponent is too strong, step back. He's exhibited that already. So, what he is doing, what he will do, there's a very clear path ahead. China should be the most modern, prosperous, strong economy, which will
Leader of the
set up
world
a
in this time.
Sino-centric world order by 2049. Is this one-line theme? Xi
Mm-hmm.
Jinping's century of humiliation. All these, for many of us, it will look like talk, but he's got a plan behind each of this. That plan could be flawed, and I think it's flawed. I don't think uh, you know he'll be able to get out of it. Okay, but then we'll see how things go.
Right, sir. So let's hit the questions. There's a lot
Yeah,
of them, sir. We'll just kind of run through them with
yeah,
your
we'll do.
comments. Uh, Sandeep, what is your assessment or what is the main target of Xi Jinping or goals in the next coming years? We just discussed this, sir. I'll also request you. I think this, that's what's going through my mind. We've taken this as a short question. I think this requires a little more in-depth discussion.
Look,
There
it's
are
very
lots
simple.
more.
His targets are very simple. By 2049, China should be the most prosperous nation. He'll pump up his economy through dual circulation and common prosperity, which I've explained to you. Right? PLA will be strengthened. Wolforism will rule. BRI he'll try to revive. If he cannot revive BRI, he'll at least get the geopolitical value out of it. The path lines are very clear, which we have written and we have spoken about. There's nothing more we can, I can put across this.
I have a friend who says I had a joke about Xi Jinping. It was abducted. And our
Yeah.
friend says, I too had a joke about Xi Jinping, but he got re-educated.
Okay. Yeah.
I must say, people have kind of learned the lingo of China. So
Uh,
let's move forward. Please explain the social credit system in China and this effect on people's behavior. Is it a good system? I recently read in an article.
well, uh, first and foremost, let me tell you, it's a very repressive system. The social credit system is for every wrong you do, you lose credit. For every good
Points.
thing you do, you get points. So your entire behavior, the way the state deals with you, all behave depends on your overall credit. It is something like your financial
Yeah.
credit risk, which a lot of people do. I think it's a very repressive system. It's very judgmental, and uh, it's very bad. Okay, I mean anyone can manipulate your social credit through some central agency. So if you have good credit today, it could vanish overnight by a keystroke, and that's happened during COVID, where people's codes, they have a code of yellow, red, and green, red, yellow, green. Only if you have green that you can move around in China. Overnight, people's codes have moved from green to red, especially during those bank protests in Henan. To ensure that people don't come for more protests, their codes were turned to green. So similarly, you might have great social credit today, tomorrow it will vanish. It's all arbitrary. Okay, this is a system of control, which is absolutely repressive. Yep.
Interestingly, the same thing was done to Hainan residents during the start of the party congress as well.
Yes.
So, yeah. General Saab, what are your views about recent US security document on China and India? Thanks.
Well, I don't. There's nothing against India in that. I mean, I don't. I think he's referring to the national security strategy of
Yes, sir. Joe
US.
Biden
Yeah, that he's very clear. He said that China is a
threat.
security threat, and India is a partner. There's nothing more to it. It could be as it couldn't be more explicit than that, and that sets the tone for almost everything.
So I think this is a very interesting comment, and this boards back to your notification as well of who bought his time and who showed his strength later. So he says people said that Xi Jinping was another placeholder for 5 years, but has managed to wrest the
Yeah,
party is incredible.
yeah. Like I
Indeed.
said, he hit the strength and bided his time, and he surprised everyone. He's upstaged everyone, right? I don't think even the Chinese knew where uh, he was going to come from. Yeah,
Today, Biden commented Park as a dangerous country. Is there any relation to the Xi Jinping's re-election?
I don't think so really, because Park on its own has the potential to fulfill these credentials which have been given to him. It's only in. I would say it was hilarious to read Pakistan. Imran Khan asking, "How can Pakistan be a dangerous country when it has not been aggressive?" But then if you leave it at that, I don't think. I think these two are a little separate.
To be honest, the
Pakistan can be
Pakistan.
judged as a most dangerous country on its own merit, and it is not new. It is okay. You
It
don't. They
doesn't
don't need.
teach.
They don't need Chinese help to get this evidence.
You don't need Xi Jinping for that.
Yeah, they don't need Xi Jinping for
Right.
that. Xi Jinping is
Uh,
regard for other things. Yeah,
this is an interesting comment. So China has been maintaining a strange silence, and seems this is the silence before the tsunami.
I don't think they're maintaining silence. They're communicating quite a bit. There's no silence from China. Let's be very clear. If anything, it's the other way around. The way they are communicating what they're going to do in the 20th Party Congress tomorrow is phenomenal. They've today gone to the extent of saying US and China should cooperate. They've also gone
Mhm.
to the extent of saying that private players should come back but with restrictions. All these are indications of an olive branch. That's a different thing. If people believe China and go back to China, then we could be bigger fools. But they've been quite communicative, right?
Yes, matter of
If,
fact, there was a huge press conference with their agenda and this and that.
and of course, you have to also understand they couldn't have acted very greatly because or aggressively in this period because there are a lot of stake for every aspect of or every faction of the leadership. Anything went wrong would have gone against them. So
Against them.
generally, they
Mm.
right from an action point of view after that missile drills with Taiwan, they've kept a low profile military
Yeah,
point of view. Yeah,
I think that's what he's probably referring to.
yeah, yeah.
Stay in silence. Indeed, point taken. Ask Jan Shankar, what is the Xi Jinping How did Xi Jinping consolidate power so well beyond manipulation? Isn't other price links in waiting losing their chance at power a real danger for Xi Jinping?
Well, he's done that. He's manipulated everyone, and he's this thing. The other princelings are all gone. Although they're all a part of the anti-corruption agenda, they're all gone. Today, the Politburo Standing Committee is going to be his. The Politburo is going to be under his nominated virtually. The Central Military Commission is already with him. He controls the party, he controls the gun. Thank you for everyone else. If you think you're a princeling, you will be in jail. As simple as that. Or you're part of the Anti-Corruption Bureau, or rather, under the Anti-Corruption Bureau. I mean,
Yes,
let's be
this
very
is
clear.
also crazy.
He's been very ruthless about it,
Yeah, yeah.
and yeah.
The sentencing is crazy, huh?
Hmm.
70
Yeah.
years. Tal.
वो
70
वो फंस
years.
गया
The guy is looking
ठीक
at
है
it there, "Bhai, itna kya kar diya मैंने?"
No, yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah,
quite
yeah, I
a
told you this man is a derivative of Mao. We should not have doubts about it. Yeah.
Right, on the same subject, sir, is Winnie the Pooh. I'll get banned off YouTube, guys. Take it easy. Planning a great leap forward, just like Mao did. Uh, at one point, Shenzhen was supposed to become the Valley. It doesn't look probable now.
Look, I already said his great leap forward. He tried. Okay, it didn't work. If you see tomorrow's great leap forward, which he'll try, he will do. I mean, they have to try, no, isn't it? They can't just keep quiet. It's still a huge economy of $19 trillion or 17 or $19 trillion, whatever it is. They have to try. They will. They'll do everything. Whether it will succeed is a different thing. Their growth will be anemic is foregone. Their zero COVID policy, they've already said it's not going to go out. It's going to continue. That means for the next 3 to 4 years, zero COVID policy is going to stay in China. If zero COVID policy stays in China, their economy will get wrecked. That also there's no doubt. How he'll manage all this is the point. Is what is to be seen.
It's,
Yeah.
I mean, okay, fair enough. I think that's a uh, interesting aspect of the entire game that you brought out, but it's something which is very unlikely to be seen. As a matter of
100
fact,
class campaign is of friend Mauji.
yes, sir, same one that I was talking about, where
Oh
they
yeah. Uh,
writes an interesting question: what holds China together? Fear, nationalism, or communism?
oh, all three, and most importantly, the Han through centuries. If you see the all the dynasties which ruled, the Han community is it's a homogeneous community. It's not a heterogeneous community. The people are think alike. They're prone to obedience. They're taught obedience culturally. So that's what's been playing out, and that's how these people have succeeded, right? And the fact that China is a unitary nation, unlike the Indian civilization, which is not unitary, with different races, different castes, different creeds. Theirs is only one, so that it'll survive if you know. And they've eliminated all kinds of opposition. It'll survive
Mhm.
that way till something happens. Yeah,
Interesting answer to this question: communism with Chinese
yeah,
characteristics.
I agree with you.
I think people have started having a lot of fun with China, but it's an interesting subject. Thank you, guys,
Yeah,
that you've started following us with this particular thing. As per discussion, yeah, Saibal, as a matter of fact, I didn't know it was you who asked this particular question, sir. This is an interesting question he asked us in the last live. I wanted to see if he kind of found back and we can see if we can answer this. Uh, as per your discussion, I was right in comparing Brezhnev with Xi. Soviet Union broke after 9 years of Brezhnev. Since China has a huge economy, take 25 to 30 years to go down the drain.
I
The
might
fear
not give
is
it.
there.
Look, I might not give it 25 to 30 years also.
Yikes.
Uh, while Brezhnev's problems were accumulating, the real rot in China started in Soviet Union started with the Chernobyl disaster.
Huh.
Chernobyl
That
brought a
was a
lot of
turning
things
point.
to the fore. Okay.
Hmm.
Similarly, the COVID is the equivalent of Chernobyl to China. It's only 2 years. 2 years back, could you have thought of disintegration of China?
Oh no.
No.
China was growing, sir.
Today you're discussing it. You see, again, the trajectory you have to understand. Xi Jinping inherited a thriving economy, which is at double digits. In 10 years, he's brought it down to a single digit economy, low single digit economy. Okay. If you extrapolate what he has done in the past 10 years, the further direction is very clear. Now, in all these, there's nothing linear about it. There will come a time when it will become non linear, and then the breakup will start. Like, Ernest Hemingway had once said, how do you go bankrupt? Slowly initially, and then all of a sudden. This is in one of his books. The same way, This is going to happen slowly till one day a collapse might happen. Might not happen, could happen. But the downward trajectory of the economy
Has
is something
started.
which we cannot miss. Okay. The the reversal of the global dynamics, especially in the past 2 years, is something you cannot miss.
Saibal, I hope that answers your question. Of course, there's a lot more that we can discuss in probably a
Yeah,
2 minute
but we
answer,
can,
but you know,
that's a whole
but
topic by
it's
itself.
a
Yeah.
this is an interesting comment, sir. He was actually talking about an answer to this question in the chat box. But I'd like to put this up and take your opinion. The problem with these commie countries is that the strongmen without much knowledge of economy, demography, etc., have become leaders at some point. I'd like to add something, sir. There was an article written by this lady called Kya Zia, who was a teacher in the Communist Party school, and CAI
Wait,
Z
wait,
I.
wait,
I
wait, wait,
think
wait, wait, wait. I mean, let's sing. That she's giving a. I remember
tech,
Kaizia.
Kaizia.
She talks of the lack of knowledge of people, etc.,
Yeah,
etc. And
yeah.
but I think it's beyond that. That is, she's writing for a popular imagination and audience. But the fact is, Xi Jinping has chosen technocrats and put them in places to manage his economy, military, all that. And all those technocrats are loyal to him. So he is actually not managing the economy or military or diplomacy or XYZ. He's managing those technocrats. And the technocrats are managing whatever it is, science, whatever. So that's why I said don't judge this fellow by normal standards what we expect. He is doing it quite smartly. You have to grant him that he's not a fool. He is manipulating people to perform for him. Whether those people, whether he has created the conditions for those technocrats to deliver goods for China is a different story. And that's where his problem is.
I was going to ask that. Anyways, thank you for answering, sir.
Okay. He created the condition for them to excel? He's created opposite. But has he put the right chaps in the position? Yes. You take look, otherwise China couldn't have achieved what they did in military or
True, true, true,
space
true,
or
true.
energy. Hell of a lot. That's because of the technocracy. But why will they not go further in semiconductors? Because this chap has not been able to manage the outer environment. As simple as that. I've just taken one example, and it is true for across the board. He has lost the trust of outside society. That's his problem.
ये सवाल हम हिंदी में जवाब देंगे, सर.
हाँ ठीक है.
Although although हमने प्लान किया था ये थोड़ा सा हिंदी में
हाँ
बात
ठीक है
करेंगे,
ठीक
but
है ठीक
next one we promise we will do that to this thing. क्या चाइना फिर विश्वास कर अपनी पिछली गलती दोहरा सकता है
है. अमेरिका
अमेरिका?
नहीं, मुश्किल है. ये इसलिए मुश्किल है क्योंकि यहाँ विश्वास नहीं है. विश्वास एक चीज है जो एक बार खो दिया तो खो दिया, वापस नहीं आएगा. दोस्ती, विश्वास, ये सब एक ही बार कायम हो सकते हैं. एक बार किसी को धोखा दे दिया तो आप उसके ऊपर कैसे विश्वास करोगे? तो मेरे ख्याल में ये जो चिप्स एक्ट है, इससे पता चलता है कि इनको विश्वास नहीं है. अभी इन्होंने विश्वास ही छोड़ो, उन्होंने तो लिखित में भी दे दिया कि उनका नेशनल सिक्योरिटी स्ट्रेटजी में चाइना इज अ सिक्योरिटी थ्रेट. तो ये मुश्किल है.
And
देखिए, एक चीज मैं बताना चाहता हूँ. कि आगे जाके ये निश्चित है कि 5-6 जो बड़े अर्थव्यवस्था हैं वो अमेरिका, चाइना, इंडिया, जापान, जर्मनी और यूके, ये 6 माना हुआ है. अब इसमें अमेरिका, यूके, जापान और इंडिया, ये 4 चाइना के विरुद्ध हैं. जिसमें 2 राय नहीं है.
अकेला खड़ा होना बहुत मुश्किल है.
हाँ, जर्मनी वो दीवार के ऊपर बैठा है, इधर चलें उधर चलें, ठीक है. पर जर्मनी का हालत इतना खस्ता है कि आजकल वो अलग बात है. आप कैसे ये चार बड़े इकोनॉमी को टिक के ऊपर उभर के आ सकते हो?
दैट टू बाय योरसेल्फ, एक अकेले।
हाँ, अकेले। और वो भी जब इन चार बड़े इकोनॉमी में इंडिया, चाइना, इंडिया, यूएसए, जापान, ऑस्ट्रेलिया के साथ जो भी एक स्ट्रॉन्ग इकोनॉमी है, एक क्वाड बन के बैठा है आपके द्वार पर।
इंटरेस्टिंग।
ठीक है ना, वो उतना आसान नहीं है चाइना को ये ऊपर उभर आने में। एक और बात है लास्ट में मैं बताना चाहता हूँ कि आज तक जो भी चाइना में हुआ है वो विश्व के मदद से हुआ है। सबने मदद किया कि चाइना को इस स्तर तक पहुंचने के लिए। वो विश्वास के ऊपर था। वो अभी वो विश्वास टूट गया है। तो अभी ज्यादा से ज्यादा जो अमीर देश हैं और जो ताकतवर देश हैं वो चाइना के खिलाफ हैं। इनको आगे बढ़ने नहीं देंगे। क्या हम आगे नहीं बढ़ने देंगे? इंडिया एज इंडियन, क्या हम चीन को आगे बढ़ने देंगे? हम तो उनके हर रास्ते पे पत्थर रखेंगे, अड़चन डालेंगे। ये वही बात है अमेरिका से भी, यूके से भी, जापान से भी। तो चाइना का राइज यहाँ से मुश्किल है। हाँ, ऐसे चलता रहेगा वो अलग बात है। कठिनाइयाँ आएंगी, वो हमें झेलना पड़ेगा।
Mr. Venki says, I'm going to the temple now. So to pray for this thing. And thanks so much for the super sticker, sir. Sir, it's an hour. I don't think we should drag this because it is, I've got lots more comments that I need to cover up, but it'll go on.
Yeah, we'll talk
Having
about
said
it
that,
later.
sorry, sir.
We'll talk about it later, no hurry.
Yeah, yeah. Having said that, sir, I want to ask you one simple question before we go. Xi Jinping, and the result is supposed to come out on the 22nd, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah.
And the re-anointment will happen next year in March.
So,
Now, uh, between these two times, political instability within China with regards to this entire thing would take forth quite a bit. As a matter of fact, if things go a little awry, especially the world economy kind of slowing down, European economy, which is the biggest, trade partner with China, slowing down. China, as it is slowing down. What kind of an effect does it have on China's perceptiveness and China's behavior? Uh, I got this thought from one of the comments who said China is kind of relatively a bit quieter. You also said that, yeah, after the Taiwan thing, they just toned down a bit. How do you think this is going to change? Will the tone of China change with the new Xi Jinping government?
they have no choice of changing. If they continue in the same thing, they'll collapse faster. They have no choice. They'll change. They'll attempt to change. How it will pan out is to be seen, because you see a lot of things which are going to get driven by अगले एक साल में जो भी होने वाला है वो यूक्रेन और रशिया के बीच में जो हो रहा है उसके ऊपर निर्भर है।
That's true, sir.
तो देखते हैं, इसके ऊपर अभी टिप्पणी करना बहुत जल्दी है। क्योंकि एक हफ्ते के बाद हमें पता चलेगा इनका नया रवैया क्या होगा, क्या बोलेंगे, कैसे बात करेंगे। ठीक है ना? फिर देखेंगे क्या करें। आज तो हमने जी जिनपिंग के ऊपर बात किया, चाइना के ऊपर नहीं। तो
Right, sir. Thank you so much. Till next time. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining. Please do hit the like before you check out. Hit the subscribe, and those of us who are joining us, of course, this was a short note. This was a show that we wanted to do for you. I promised it on Sunday, but I think, there's some commitment. So we planned it today for us to cover this particular subject. We will actually try and do it next week in our somewhere Tuesday, Wednesday sort of a situation when we can cover up the entire segment as more news comes out of China, where we come to know what's actually happening within there. In there, this thing today was a plenary session where they kind of regularized all the 2,000 odd members. They were all given their numbers and cards and stuff like that, and a vote was conducted. There were some photographs that came out. So that was the start of, I guess, the whole process of the 20th Party Congress. It's going to be interesting time, sir. Thank you so much, as usual, for joining in. Have a great day, all of us, and till next time, sir. Jai Hind.
जय हिंद।